Good evening, Misfits. You are tuning in to a special edition Misfit podcast, 23.2. You're all right. I'm good. I heard myself. I got scared. Excuse me. Watch the... Okay. I don't know if I can talk and listen to myself at the same time. 23.2. Yeah. 23.2 has been announced. And we watched the big dogs go. We watched Hunter v. Sherb.
It's kind of become the big dog.
We were the big dogs.
I'm sorry. We watched the big dogs go. Then we watched Pat and Roman
Yeah, that's
go.
right.
To be honest, Hunter was within striking distance, so maybe he is the big dog. He is the little big dog. That's what we call him around here, little big dog.
God damn it.
Anyways,
big dog over
we're
here.
gonna hit you with some housekeeping items real quick here. We are down to the wire, but Misfit Athletics quarterfinals prep camp is at Misfit Athletics HQ next weekend. If you are thinking about getting signed up, make sure you plan your travel to get here on Friday for 23.3. We would love to have you. Throw down with the Misfit Gym Portland crew, great icebreaker. Then you can go right into camp on Saturday and Sunday. You can sign up at misfit.camp. 2 programming updates. We have a Team Misfit, which is our affiliate programming. We have a brand new phase getting started here really soon, and you can get a 2-week free trial at teammisfit.com. So make sure you head there and get signed up for the new phase. Teens and Masters semifinals prep begins March 6th. That is not this coming Monday, but the following Monday. So basically the Monday following that final open workout, we are getting started on semifinals prep for Teens and Masters. There will be an entire podcast to be able to check out and sort of see whether that fits for you. That's anybody who's doing the quarterfinals or semifinals. Also, really big announcement, Misfit Athletics is on Fitter now. So if you sign up at misfitathletics.com, we pay for your membership on Fitter. And once and for all, there is a single Misfit Athletics leaderboard for all of our programs. Existing users, make sure that you head to Discord and click that link in Discord so that you can get your information in so that we can get you set up on Fitter. There'll be an email with a link as well. And last but not least, we're going to give away some free shit. We're going to go ladies first. Top 20 Misfit women in 23.1. Shaylin Laurie, Alexis Johnson, Paige Semenza, Caroline Spencer, McKenna Enslin, Jenna Michelotti, Lindsay Hoffman, Delia Moises, Adrian Wings? I don't know. Cassidy Lane, Sophie Shaft, Taylor Quigg, Julie Pettit Lane, Hometown Hero, Danielle Sakala, Sophie Poliquin, Charles Poliquin, OG, respect.
Damn.
Rest in peace. Susan Abernathy, Erica Haman, Morgan Wallace, Jackie Marino, and Joetta Halpin. Would you like to do the honors, gentlemen?
Man in pink, get after it.
Man in pink. Thanks for the color coding, Jen. Appreciate it.
Fleas before beauty. Thank you.
Let's see. McKenna Enslin.
McKenna Enslin, if you are listening to this podcast, you are going to want to email Jen, Jenn, at misfitathletics.com. Let her know where you live, what your sizes are, and we will get a gear pack out to you as soon as possible. Excellent work to everybody that's on the leaderboard. If you would like to be on this list for next week, head to games.crossfit.com. Use the hashtag #WeAreMisfit. You basically just go into your profile and add that to your hashtags, and that will put you on here automatically. Top 20 Misfit men, 23.1. Luka Jukic, George Regis, Anthony Como, Austin Spencer, Ross Bradley, Michael Olivas, Kyle Moline, Tyler, not Taylor, Lordich, Tristan Jones. Man, I'm getting there. It says Flamingo lower half. I'm not sure who that's referring to.
What the?
Taylor Aitken, Ryan Gronke, Ryan Bretag, Shane Lloyd, Dylan Weil, Sebastian Schneider, Little Big Dog. I'm not sure who that is. Mark Tabaka, Alex Carrillo, and Christopher Jablonski. I like that name, Jablonski. Jablonski, get over here. All right, gents. All right, Little Big Dog, let's go.
Come on, pick me.
Am I ever going to win this? Am I going to win one?
Doubtful.
Mark Tabaka.
Mark Tabaka. Same instructions. jen@misfitathletics.com. Shoot that email over. Let us know where you live, what your sizes are. And once again, games.crossfit.com. Use the hashtag #WeAreMisfit in your profile. You will automatically be added to this leaderboard, and that enters you in to win some free shit for 23.2 and beyond. Gentlemen, we are going to start with immediate reactions and time machine. So, would you change anything about what happened? What do you think about the workout? And then we'll get into the nitty gritty.
See, I would have started in kindergarten and start eating vegetables more often, so I wouldn't be as hefty for the. No.
That's pretty good.
I'd say initial impressions was like, I was
Your
hoping
hand
for.
gesture and your short length right now is upsetting, but keep going.
I'm higher. Jack them up. I was hoping for a workout that had a huge pacing requirement to it.
485 deadlift.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully deadlifts and strict handstand push-ups. But no, I was talking to actually Austin before the workout. And I was like, no, we're due for a workout where it's basically like, how well do you know yourself? And I feel like last week is a little bit of that, but there's obviously a skill element to some of the movements there. And I kind of wanted one of the workouts where you just kind of like turn your brain off and go, kind of like last year's like burpee deadlift workout, which, you know, didn't go great the first time, but learned going into the second time.
You turned your brain off, all right.
So yeah, turned it off, didn't use it.
Just didn't fucking go.
It's hard. You know how hard it is to do all that stuff?
Little Big Dog's fired up.
It's because you called him Little Big Dog.
I thought it was a score, but all right.
But yeah, I mean, I was hoping for a workout like this, and then we going to go in time machine now or after he gives his initial impression?
Yeah, I mean, what would you, if you were going to do the workout on Monday, what would you change about how you did it?
I'd try to find a way to do the burpees a little bit more efficiently because you and I were talking about it both during the workout and directly after that there's just too much of a negative, both, you know, going down to the floor and then pressing up a bit too much of my upper body. You know,
you added 2 lunges and 2 push-ups to every.
Tried to save my heart rate that way, but you know, if you save your heart rate, then you smoke your arms. Was it worth? You know, what's the trade-off there?
Sure.
So you know, it's one of those things where would like to be able to do that a little bit more consistently because you know, I was listening to my judge count and I could also hear Hunter's judge count, and I was like, man, I'm like 3 pull-ups in and he's already doing shuttles in the second round. Like, how is he that far ahead already? And it was just a simple, like, you know, watching him do a couple of demo reps afterwards. I was like, that's the reason why. It's just significantly more efficient getting up and down off the floor, able to kind of cycle at a faster rate. So that's the one thing I would like to change.
I don't know that probably along the lines of like burpee efficiency. Like I was consciously thinking about trying to sprawl and avoid that kind of weird, wonky, like 1 foot negative type deal.
You did a few of them randomly.
Yeah, I like accidentally
test it out a little bit.
Yeah, just kind of get a feel for it. I did at some point switch. I did kind of actively switch in between stepping back versus sprawling. I think that like the sprawl, because it's a little bit faster, like my arm, like the front of my shoulders were actually what was kind of starting to get a little tired. And
well, that's sort of, I believe, his hypothesis of if I can slow this down, then the cycle rate isn't so fast that I pump out.
I did. It did help a little bit. And in my head, I was like, fuck, am I gonna like that? I've had that front deltoid shoulder discomfort before when you go into a front rack movement and then you can't do handstand push-ups, that sort of thing. And in my head, I was like, wow, I wonder if this is going to be one of those open workouts where like the intensity just really gets ratcheted up and all of a sudden I can't, like the front rack is miserable. And that really was never the case. So I think it was probably in the round of like 25 burpee pull-ups where I slowed down quite a bit, like halfway through that. And I think I could have just stayed a little bit tougher knowing how it felt after. Like I had a few pretty sad shuttle runs, but after like 3 of them, I was able to like, my breathing was much more under control and I could kind of resume my pace. So maybe a combination of just a little bit more consistency movement wise in the burpee pull up, and then probably just a little bit tougher towards the back, like the really big sets of burpee pull ups. And maybe I find enough time to like finish the shuttle runs in that last round.
I think I was going to add to that. Early on, I expected that the pulling fatigue might be part of the movement. Like we were talking before the workout started, like is kipping the pull up the smart play or is jumping the pull up the right play? And I'm like thinking about what part of my body is going to fatigue most on that movement. And I thought the pull was going to go, but I agree with you. I think it was more the press is what ended up being more fatigued across the entire workout because that time under tension, for at least for me, was significantly longer on the press or laying down the floor and pressing back out than just finishing that quick little pull to the pull-up bar, which was surprising to me because I did think that potentially later on in the workout, the lats, like fatigue would be one of the reasons why you start to do some slow or some weird half-kipped pull-ups to get through those. And honestly, for me, it was just the pressing was the entire thing. And then, you know, if you do lots of pressing in the workout and you have to press out a thruster afterwards, you're kind of in trouble.
Yeah, I did think that at some point that pull started to get a little tired, and then I also realized that I was jumping like a jackass into the rep. So I was like, if you just jump a little bit higher, like that pull.
That was one of the
away.
So to clarify for people, when Sherb was doing the step down and the step back to his burpee, he was still really lowering himself pretty slowly. When Hunter was doing that, he was still basically just flopping down onto the ground. So it's basically you can manipulate your cadence a little bit more while doing that without stopping, because stopping in that type of movement is death, and it starts to creep into your mind, and it's no good. So if you're like, okay, I'm moving too fast, but I also know that if I get really methodical, at some point my body's going to stop moving, and that's just not really something that we're trying to have happen within it. And then the other biggest difference that I noticed between you two was that jump. Like you had most of a pull-up to do, and he had barely any of it at all.
Bullshit long arm. Fucking octopus. No, honestly, I was going to say, I think if you go back and watch that Instagram live, you'll see the difference between someone who, we both had the same approach in the burpee. We're like, stay in control, stay moving, but significantly less energy expended getting up and down in the burpee versus myself.
I want to know from you, I already said this to you next door, but I don't necessarily agree with what he just said, because you went really hard in the burpee pull-ups, maintained a pretty stoic body language, and then looked like we were in the rafters shooting with BB guns for the shuttle runs. And there was just kind of a shift, a little bit of like, I'm going to get these done because this is kind of the workout. And then I'm just going to go move, and I can flop my arms if I have to, and I can be sad if I have to. But like, you could tell you were on a mission from the final 25 feet into your first rep.
Yeah, I mean, just it is very much like you can't stop moving. I think like it's really like we said in the video, like the tip video, like once you start shuttle running, like God willing, those are unbroken. Like you're not stopping, right, at any point.
Might not.
Might not. We'll see some sad shuttle running, but you are, you are, as long as you are moving yourself forward or backward, you're accomplishing work. On a burpee, there's quite a few places where you can feel sorry for yourself and stop. And it's also a movement that's like, once you jump yourself out of that burpee or step out of the burpee, you're automatically in kind of that loaded position, ready to jump into the pull-up bar. So it's pretty silly to like stand all the way up, catch your breath, and then like re-dip, jump to the pull-up bar and pull. It's kind of like resting like on the, on the floor in a burpee box jump, like rest before you start the rep, but try to keep moving the entire time.
We talked about last week, the little by little mindset really locked in on the cleans. Like you literally just had to do one more every time and make sure someone else was counting. When you have the burpee, what Hunter is talking about is when he's coming up from his burpee, he's in that power position, ready to jump up, and I'm not going to fucking waste momentum and contractile potential in our muscles. Like we're going to go get to work. Then when he pulls himself up and ghost rides off the pull-up bar, where does he land? Exact same position. Is he going to stand back up? Is he going to, again, lose that contractile potential by putting his hands on his knees? No, he's back in power position and he just drops back down. And that's very much a way to segment. Those are two positions that you're consistently getting into. And honestly, the type of positions where that needs to stay, no matter where you're at in the workout, exactly the same. And then that pacing strategy of stepping back, stepping up is really going to be the nuance on your burpee pull-up. But once you are in power position, you're jumping, and once you land back in it, you're going to the ground. And if you're able to do that, again, you're splitting it up into two very manageable pieces and just chipping away while your judge hopefully doesn't scream like every single rep at you. I know some people like that, but like you can feel like you're kind of in purgatory. Whereas if you shut off and think about this half, that half, this half, that half, you can probably get a lot of work done.
Yeah, when I was doing the burpee pull-ups, the only thing I was trying to tell myself was just do another one, do another one, do another one. Basically, the prep that you and I had before the workout is like, there's just don't stop. You can move kind of slow on this movement, and I probably took that a little too liberally, but you can be slow on the burpee pull-up, but you can't stop moving, and that's going to be the thing that I think is most challenging for the average person that doesn't have the experience. And we were talking about the workout you and I did on camera with a vest about, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months ago, that had us going for 13 minutes. And
the same workout.
And it was vested chest to bar pull-ups, shuttle runs, and burpees to a target. And it's essentially the exact same workout, minus the fact that we had to do a chest to bar pull-up in a vest versus chin over bar pull-up without a vest.
I hated watching him do that too.
Yeah. So
Basically a chin over bar pull-up.
essentially, this is an opportunity for you to take all the shuttle running we've been doing over the last 6 months, all of the other, sustained pacing workouts, and be like, all right, what does that actually mean today? Because, the thing that you were doing while he and I were warming up is literally going over there and timing how long it took Pat and Roman to do each set of burpee, like how long each burpee took on average, how long 10 shuttle runs took, and basically what those guys were able to do, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, they were basically on the same cadence for 2/3, if not 3/4 of the workout before they started, the wheels started to come off a bit.
Yeah. Roman's slippage was less than a second per rep over the course of the entire workout in his burpee pull-up. So he started in the 4-second range and ended up in the 4.8 second range, something like that. He honestly,
Do you have my stats?
he very much, I actually would be able to have your stats because they got out to a lead over you and you were 20 seconds behind them for a long time. And then at some point became 30 seconds behind them, but basically held that the entire time through that. So
I'm not going to ask what my stats are. They're a little slower than that.
Get the Amazon, AWS on Sherb.
next gen stats.
Sunday
12%
ticket's gonna get me.
probability Sherb finishes the shuttle run.
No, less.
It said 1% chance of winning after one shuttle run. I checked. So again, if that's the case, and then there's slippage of we might have had a 1 minute set of shuttle runs and a 140, then we can understand where that's at. Now, one thing that I will say is we saw last week, the Open is not nice to large people. We saw last week, it was at least nicer to large people. If you go to the leaderboard, you see, taller and heavier, or at least taller or heavier, basically from the top there. We're not going to see that this week. So we did get to watch 2 of the 10 fittest men on earth. I could be wrong, but I don't see them ending up in the top 10 in the world in a workout like this, because we talked about it in a previous podcast, and I'm not going to be able to call off my head which one it was. We talked about what happens when you expand the pool and lower the skill level. There's just going to be so many people out there that are like,
this is one of those workouts where like just some rando out of the woodwork,
the dude,
put up a world
the guy
record.
from Russia,
won the
burpee guy,
burpees, did 7,000 burpees in 7.
Did he come back first workout back since
Same
2011?
With the
He did a comp with Luca
jump over
not long
dumbbell
ago.
snatch.
Yeah.
Remember some cyborg did that.
So it is good information to have watching them, because you can really understand what that pacing looks like. But the energy demands of like that, there was that weird moment where Roman went really hard on his 20 burpee pull-ups and Pat pulled ahead, and then it basically just got erased. So I didn't completely understand what happened there. And it wasn't crazy. It was just basically a rep or 2 ahead.
Well, I think also watching those athletes go and kind of doing that timing for yourself, if you don't have that idea, is like if you start the workout and you notice you're going faster than them, that's probably an indication that's not a good strategy for you. And I think that's something that could be learned from last week's open workout. I think there are plenty of people who took an attempt, realized they rode a little too hard, or decided to do 2 big sets of toes to bar early on, and then all of a sudden broke down and probably did it a second time and did better because they were more strategic about how they started the workout. This feels the same way, because when you go over and you do your first 5 burpee pull-ups, you're going to do them pretty quickly. You're going to feel relatively fresh, push the runs a little too hard. You do them in 50 seconds, and all of a sudden that energy that could be used in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the workout is no longer there because you burnt through it in the first, 90 seconds of the workout. Yeah. So this is one of those things where I think you can watch the high-level athletes to kind of get an idea of both like how they move and their body language and their cadence to help you inform you on how you should start this workout. Because I do think the beginning of this workout can trap athletes into going a little too fast, and then once you cross that line, you can't come back until you charge.
So athlete IQ exercise when it comes to this workout, we're thinking about exactly what it is, what it's going to feel like, what we can call upon for information to understand what the strategy is. The 2 things that come to mind automatically are, we already knew it was no standing around season, but that couldn't be any more literal in this workout. I mean, you cannot stop moving for a single second within this entire workout at all. Like, if somebody can freeze frame you stopping and it's not because you're turning around on a shuttle and changing direction, like something is off there. So if we know that, then we know that we have to run at a pace that allows us not to stop on the burpee. We can dig in more how you can be efficient in the burpee to then potentially eke out a little bit faster. But then this concept that we talk about a lot of, we cracked the joke. I used to say the heads up display from Iron Man, but Lucas said he'd seen 2 movies in his whole life. So
that wasn't one of them?
That was not one of them.
What were they?
I was going to guess both the games.
Honestly, we ended up getting to a place where he would say he liked this movie and this movie and this movie. So it was a bit of an exaggeration, but he has not seen as many movies as you would
every
think
second counts,
that were not directed by the Buttery Bros, basically. But so the heads up display concept is you've been on machines before for 15 minutes. If you follow Misfit Athletics, you damn sure have been on machines for more than 15 minutes.
I don't know, you have
So we start with this general concept of at 2 minutes in or 5 minutes in or 10 minutes in, what is physiologically from a feeling standpoint too hard for where I should be within this workout. You need to know what that feels like, because it's going to be really hard to know within this workout. You're going to be like, oh, 5 wasn't that bad. 10 wasn't that bad. 15 starting to get, starting to grind a little bit, but this isn't that bad. And then all of a sudden you're going to be in deep trouble. Your shuttle runs are you can add a minute to your shuttle runs without trying too hard. No pun intended.
I've started spreading this in the affiliate class, when we're going for like kind of that probably longer, like 15 minutes is probably like a good, like on the lower end, but especially for aerobic efforts like this, if you're feeling bad less than halfway through this workout, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like that 7-8 minute mark, if you're like, I am fucked, like, yes, that is correct. You are.
Yes,
like,
you are.
Yeah, like I think
you're the right person though to clarify the difference between like skirting with threshold and your body stop working.
Yeah, it's like if you're feeling like, I'm at a good pace, like I can continue with this output. Like, to be clear, you're not comfortable. It's just like you haven't crossed that obvious kind of red line threshold, or you haven't crossed it and then tried to come back on the other side of it. If you're like, I think that halfway point is a really good gauge of where you're at. Like from, you hit that 7 minute mark. If you're really, really hurting, like you probably, your pace is probably too hard. You start to feel that real discomfort in the 9-10 minute range. Like that's probably right where you need to be at. And then you're hopefully able to grind out for the last 5 minutes or so. But
the physiological signs that you would be looking for, basically on the muscular or cardiovascular level, cardio-wise, would be that hypoxic feeling where you're gasping for air. Sure. If someone tells you, there's no blood left in your hands, or you've turned a
different color,
the wrong color, people get a little red in a workout, but if you go ghost white, that's a problem. But that's, you're kind of seeing stars and having that feeling. Or in the other direction, and this would typically happen to a bit more of a deconditioned athlete, your muscles don't work, basically.
Yeah.
You start to try to rebound in a burpee or do the pull, and they start to basically fail on you. Those are again going to be those 2 signs that we definitely need to like stay away from.
Yeah. I don't know that I see anybody getting to the point where it's just like, wow, my lungs feel great, but my muscles don't work anymore. Like, I feel like if you're that person where it's just like, my arms I can't do another pull-up, it's either pull-up capacity isn't there,
right,
and therefore like fitness needs to be improved, or it's just like, we're just reaching.
Get yourself on a ski, or gonna do some fucking zone 2 work.
Skis, I mean,
but I think it's pretty rare that happens.
Excited they put this movement in there for, especially like at the affiliate level.
I don't know if you're going to toot your horn about the affiliate, because everyone's been crying about the addition of so many shuttle run workouts. But there's
no way there weren't going to be shuttle runs this year in the Open. Throw them in quarterfinals. It's the perfect way to get affiliate athletes to run.
They needed to figure out how to put running in the Open. Yes. They had to.
Yeah, they had.
Very accessible movement. It's super functional. And it was nice.
And the burpee, and I like the burpee pull up too. It's like super long range of motion. It's affiliate athlete. Like, hey, can you lift your body weight over the pull-up bar? Like, stoked you can kip. But
plus, you love the fact that it's just like work capacity is like not a skill separator that prevents someone at that level from like being like, I just can't do the muscle up yet. Like, bummer, this workout's over for me now at 12 minutes instead of 14. Like, this is just nope. Just keep going. Just keep going. Have fun.
The scaled version is just burpees to a target. Would you rather done burpees to a target or burpee pull-ups?
I don't think the results would have been any different.
That would have been really miserable.
I think the results would be about the exact same.
Well, I know, I'm pretty sure the scale division has that, and
that's what it is.
Someone was bragging about it, and I'm like, no. That cycle rate, that cycle rate is gnarly.
Yeah, it's nice. The reprieve of pulling yourself with the pull-up bar is like a
great
quarter
news. You don't have
reprieve.
to worry as much about your arms wanting to fall off. Your lungs are going to bleed. Great. Welcome to CrossFit.
I mean,
it's prediction time.
No. I mean, what has been said about?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Might as well do it.
So we are live currently. If you're listening in the future, we're not live anymore. But if you're listening right now at 5:37 p.m., ask away. We can answer some questions on here. I was going to cover the shuttle runs real quick, but what hasn't been said about shuttle runs has already been said about, I don't know, watching tumbleweeds or
paint drying.
Make sure you turn around fast and turn around so that you're actually going to have yourself set to run in the other direction, as opposed to, we don't need any basketball slide drills going on. That'd be tough on the old adductors.
We did that once, the affiliate, the shuffle drill, and people were very upset for about a month afterwards.
Yeah, that's the day I show up.
I'll let you know next time.
Yeah.
What you got for us,
like 3
movement day?
So we've only got a couple questions right now, but Griffin asks, I know it's super early, but thoughts on scores needed for quarterfinals qualification?
Probably finish 25.
I would say into the shuttle runs before the 30.
Yeah.
In that neighborhood anyways.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
at
least.
The problem with a workout like this, again, is the accessibility.
Yeah,
so a bunch of the people, we're about to get a flip-flop. So we had a bunch of people last week who were not in qualifying spots that are going to be able to leap into super safe positions within 1 week. And I had that conversation with a lot of our athletes over at the affiliate level that might have been a little discouraged. It's like, you're normally in the 97, 98, 99%. It matters that you didn't get there today, but you're going to get an opportunity exactly to show off your fitness level. So I would say the leaderboard is going to be, jam-packed with very similar scores from a lot of people. Hunter, pacing or not, is potentially a notch or two below the second and fifth fittest man on earth, and he was in that same region, so you can understand what type of parity we're about to have within a workout like this.
Yeah, people get antsy and nervous about people will be like, man, I hope it's like 7 minutes of burpees, and it's like, no, you don't, because what they have to program to like rebalance the scales is going to be like, or people are like, I really hope it's a 1 rep max lift, and it's like, but again, if you want to see like the athletes lift a whole shitload of weight, the way that gets balanced is with this workout. Is like the most miserable thing that you're gonna just have to slog your way through. So yeah, while I don't think the 3-week open is necessarily like, obviously can't be the most comprehensive test, I think it's still done. The 3 weeks has done a pretty good job. Like since inception has done certainly a good enough job to get the right people to quarterfinals, but is a pretty well-balanced test. So
there's also the opportunity if you are someone who didn't do particularly well in the workout, maybe you didn't like last week because I had skills and this week is the shuttle runs, but and you're strong in the thruster, you can get yourself kind of back into contention with a solid score there.
Last week had the skill element to it where it's like athletes really maybe struggling with the muscle ups, or like, wow, that was a lot of toes to bar, something like that. And like, flip flop from kind of muscle overload gas tank workout depending on who you are.
Although I'd like to speak to the manager. Making you guys go hard for 15 minutes 2 weeks in a row is fucked.
I know.
I
was going to say 14 and 14.
That is
you and
fucked
I
up.
would be a perfect example of this, though.
I'm not mad at it, but like from an athlete perspective, that is tough.
I mean, we had muscle overload week 1, cardio week 2.
Worms stomped into the dirt.
Fucking gnarly gas tank week 3.
I'll say you and I are a good example here, though, because like I would have been a little bit ahead of you on the leaderboard after week 1, but then you're going to jump a bunch over me for this workout, the first part and the second part. Like, what's the equalizer there? So like, I think that's a good example of like people moving around a leaderboard throughout the week and how things are going to kind of balance out. Like, you obviously have to bring your best the final week as well, but like you can have that one average score and still get yourself where you need to be.
And basically everybody who's worried about contention of quarterfinals, if you have an inverse workout presented to you once again, typically someone who is going to absolutely annihilate and come out of nowhere on part A is going to lose to you in part B. Yeah. So just something to keep in mind. Someone did ask, and it seemed like they were serious about saving anything for the thruster. Here's the problem. The only person...
I was going to ask this question for...
Yeah, so thoughts. The only person that needs that to be a thing can't let it happen because they'd take too many points in the first one. The people who would have the permission so fit that they could slow down, clear waste so fast that they don't fucking need it. Yeah, that's the way that physiology works. The reason why you would be screwed over for the max thruster is because you cannot clear waste. And the only people who have permission to slow down in that workout who are people who annihilate it, and they clear waste better than anybody else in the world.
Yeah, especially with this workout, the way that the reps are counted as well. Like let's say that you somehow pace yourself well enough to do like 10 fewer reps on the Metcon. Like,
you don't want to know what that is.
You want to know how many more pounds do you theoretically have to lift, and like those 10 quote unquote reps did not save you physiologically enough energy to jack your thruster so far up. So there's really like, I think the last time we had a workout like this where people gamed the leaderboard really hard, it was the 5, 10, 15 power snatch, deadlift, toes to bar, and people would do like one toes to bar and then wait until the clock expired and then clean and jerk 400 pounds. Right. And it was like, I win. Yeah. I think we're gone like beyond that at this point, but like people are going to be playing that game. Like, should I retest in an effort? Should I do fewer reps in the Metcon to get more pounds lifted? Like, No,
the only time you retest is if you don't
You're making way too many assumptions about your ability to lift after that workout, and probably about your ability to pace that workout so perfectly that you have that nail that energy system so well that you can thruster enough weight to compensate and more for that.
Before we take the next question, let's do the quick boom, boom, boom bullet points on the thruster. We can start in the neighborhood of 80% on the thruster. That's pretty safe. If you're super strong, maybe you are closer to the 70%. You're not really sure, you're feeling it out, but make sure you have on paper all scenarios. Like if you're absolutely cooked, probably worst case scenario would be 3 reps. Best case scenario would be 5.
I hit 4.
I'd 4 as well.
I do 4. Yeah, 4 with 1 failed rep.
Same.
So two probably wouldn't have happened, and 6 probably wouldn't happen, right?
6 would have been. 6 would have been like I used my first a really light kind of like get a feel for it rep. But you're probably only getting at most 5 like legitimate attempts, probably closer to 4.
And just in from a general speaking standpoint, most people are going to be really comfortable with the squat clean weight that they're going to be putting up over their head, and if that is the case, just like last week, your body wants to trick you. Upper body's fatigued. You're super gassed. You're going to want to yank that barbell off the floor. And if you do yank that barbell off the floor, you're not going to be in a good squat position. And basically what happens from you catch just above parallel, drop into your squat, go up overhead, that's the important part of the lift. Yeah. So I was saying to Sherb real quick, he just had one where he really yanked the bar off the floor. And because he over pulled, it buried him, and you're not going to come out with a good thruster because of that. He deadlifts 500 pounds, 600 pounds, whatever the fuck it is. So he can slow down at 250, the old 50% deadlift. He can slow down and get into a really good power position.
Kid, snatch it.
I was trying to show you how
to get into that position. Other things that we see with the thruster is we see people get really like in the front half of their foot and get hip dominant, and they don't sort of finish that squat. The strongest squat that you have is the one where you just stand all the way up with your entire foot on the ground. So make sure we're finishing that squat. And then something that we see in thrusters and push press and push jerk under fatigue is that internal rotation of the shoulder. And I was reminded Hunter had a single rep where basically he heaved the bar really high, but he lost tension. So the barbell was, maybe forehead or even above, and your elbows flared out. And just that internal rotation, you're going to get stopped dead in your tracks. Or sometimes you do a thruster and you're like, that felt good. Like, why didn't that go anywhere? And it might just be you're creating like almost a struggle through mobility reasons, basically, to lock that out. Like, basically, if you do this, you can't really straighten your arms. Yeah. It's not a great position. So he wound up and then the barbell flew up over his head. So make sure that you've got that real good front rack. And we also like to joke that we see some of the best squat cleans that we see all year because you guys have to listen to us and keep your full grip on the barbell. So we'll love that.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add to that is just the midline part of that. Like, you have to make sure that when you receive that barbell, you're in a nice, strong stack position. So as you go to extend your hips and knees at the same time, that you don't get into that bent, overextended back position that presses the bar away from your body. Because
and if you don't like belts, I like the loose belt for feedback.
Yeah, you just got to feel that tension there so that when you catch the bottom of that clean, you're nice and rigid so that when you're standing up, you're able to transfer energy from hips to shoulders.
Yeah, I think making sure that in your warm-up you feel really good about where the bar is landing in your front rack, because as soon as you get pulled forward, you're pitched forward, the bar is forward, your elbows are down, coming out of that by hips go way up, all of a sudden you've got that standing bench press position. And then I think the rep that I failed, the combination of getting in that weird pressing position, I think I got in that position because I was really thinking about like extending my hips, but hips and knees didn't necessarily go together at the same time. It's the ultimate core to extremity movement. Like, hips and knees have to extend together in order to get the most out of that press, which is definitely the weakest part of the movement for me. So
yeah, positioning is king.
Positioning, bar path, really, really important at those maximal weights.
Truth.
While you're tired.
So we've got a couple of equipment-y questions that I figure you guys could probably answer pretty quick. Julia asked if you guys changed out of your shoes after the shuttle run into lifting shoes. And then Blake asked if you should use grips.
I slipped in the VersaLift heel lifts on my shoes just because I have bad ankle mobility. So anything to get me into a more upright position for a front squat is going to make better thrusters for me. So, I wouldn't necessarily tell someone to like unlace their shoes, tie their shoes back up. Like, I had a pair of shoes I could just slip on kind of smooth and easy, but I do find that VersaLifts are a nice way for me to get into a better position in the front squat to help the thruster. And if you don't have that, you could probably pre-tie a pair of ollie shoes you can kind of just slip your feet into. So again, anything that gets you in a better position is going to help you maximize hip drive and get more weight overhead for the thruster, which means, fewer points.
I haven't used weightlifting shoes since 2011. But if you lift in weightlifting shoes, if weightlifting shoes allow you to lift more weight, put the weightlifting shoes on. You're going to have...
Put your weightlifting shoes on in almost every scenario, unless it's slow. I need an athlete to show me how quickly they can put their shoes on.
I mean, that clock keeps rolling, right? So it's like you choose. Like, are you gonna miss out on a lift because you're changing your shoes, or can you, at that 15-minute mark, like crawl your way over while you're catching your breath? That's what I slipped my shoes off so I could put my knee sleeves on, and I had enough time to do that. So
I'd say thinking back to old open workouts, that double dumbbell front squat bar facing burpee workout where you fucking just murdered yourself for like 4.5 to 5 minutes, like. That was an experience where like you're like slobbering over yourself and like drooling and like rolling around the floor trying to put your clothes on in a same 5-minute window, try to get a max lift. Like, that's obviously a tough weight. Like you're saying that you don't want to lose 2 minutes.
Is that why I was 100 pounds under my max in that?
You don't want to spend 2 minutes to get your gear on, but like, I mean, we were both pretty tired at the end of the workout, but like, I don't think either of us were rolling on the ground like we do after some other more terrible pieces. No. So like, as long as you take the extra second to stage your shit and it's like in a place where it's easy to get on, I think it's worth putting on.
As far as the grips go, what the grips for the pull-up bar? Pull-ups?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I didn't
want that shit in the way. I really wouldn't.
If you have to, what are you gonna do? Like, are we keeping? I don't know. I guess it depends on if you're gonna flop it over the bar. If it fucks with your cadence and your ability to keep moving, like there's a lot of reps there for you to be fucking around every time you put.
If you do have to switch to the kipping pull up and you have one with finger holes, and you think you're going to rip, that's the only thing I can think of.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if grips are important. The one thing I would say is like wear sweatbands because I definitely felt my hands slipping a little bit towards the end. I'm a big sweaty idiot. So like once I get into this workout, I'm 9 minutes in, I can feel the drips on my hands. Like it felt a couple times when I grabbed the pull-up bar, I slipped a little bit. So like if you're a big sweaty dude or lady, throw some sweatbands on so you can make sure your grip stays dry because you don't have time to go to the chalk bucket in this workout. There's no time for that at all. Like, I don't even know if you would like somehow put it on the shuttle
swear
run
to
lane.
God.
Oh, you want to go to chalk bucket? Go ahead. Go ahead, athletes.
Again.
Gonna hide the chalk bucket.
That's where I'm going to live.
Question from Ted on Facebook. Ayo, what's a good pace per burpee pull-up for the average person?
Every 6 seconds?
Yeah, in that range.
Like 5 to 6 a minute.
no,
No,
that's
sorry,
10
like
seconds.
10 a minute.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yep,
like 5
yep,
to
right
6,
around 10 a minute. I mean, that is a general statement. So if you're still listening and you want to let us know exactly what you mean by like where you're at, what your skill level is, what you're shooting for.
Yeah.
Like I said, they were for most of the workout between 4 and 4.8 seconds per rep. Pat had one set where he got up over 5 seconds, but that's more of just a pacing thing, being at the live announcement. There's a piece of that we always have to take into account.
Cool. Griff on YouTube says, how do you manage to preserve your back during this workout? Switch the planning leg, squat down for the shuttle run touch.
No. Neither of you are allowed to. So this guy can basically fold in half and have no repercussions whatsoever. He also basically can, but his arms are so long that we'll never find out whether he can fold in half. The good thing is they're both amazing affiliate coaches and have to deal with, my back pumped out like that. That's a pretty regular occurrence at the affiliate level. We have the people that sit at a desk the entire day and then come in and let it fly. So pay really close attention to which leg you are stepping up with on each side, which direction you're turning in, and basically what you're doing with your footwork on your shuttle runs. If you are basically stepping back with the same leg, back and up with the same leg over and over, your body's going to start to just sort of get that pelvic shift a little bit.
Or
you're
leaning
gonna
over
move.
to touch the ground on the same side. Yeah.
Yep. You're going to start to do that. So I just pay close attention to, and this is something that can be done really easily in the warm up and not so easily if you're checking in the first time when your heart rate's at 170. Think about it in your warm up. Think about, okay, I touched with this one, I touched with this one. Am I always facing a certain direction in terms of when I do touch, that sort of thing? That will give you some context there. And if we get into some real worm type burpees, and you get into some real like head gets really low and kind of hunchback type position when you're touching the ground, that can be a problem. We don't want to
overextend
exactly
as you kind of lay down.
We don't want to see someone add extra movements to try to save their back because that's not going to help either. So we're not trying to see someone crouched all the way down into this like starting blocks position on their shuttle runs. You just have to be cognizant of your body language and sort of how you're carrying yourself. And if you, again, get overextended and then into that position where you're really sort of low back flexed, touching the ground, that's going to be a problem. So think about your posture within your torso, and that'll help a lot.
And the thing of that is just prep your tissues and make sure you've created the range of motion you need to be able to bend over and touch the floor. So like things like flossing your hamstrings to make sure you create that extensibility kind of in the posterior chain. So when you bend over, you don't have to compensate with your lower back. You prep things with like banded good mornings or any sort of posterior like femur distraction up by your hip to allow you to hinge easier without creating, and again, any sort of movement at your back, because whether you want to or not, you're gonna have to bend over a bunch of times to touch the floor. So if you can do so without compensating your lower back and using more of your hamstring,
and kind of
that's gonna save you.
that deep lunge position as well, if you're planning to like step up on your burpees.
We talked about it last week, and we'll probably talk about it every week. That buddy system on some of this stuff can be really important because you think you're moving a certain way. You have from coach's standpoint, someone says, no, I'm not to us. We got to whip out the camera and let them know, yeah, that is happening. So go through some warm-up reps and ask, am I getting into really aggressive extension position? So basically like you're going down into the burpee, your hips are on the ground and your shoulders are still 2 feet off the ground. And then that flexion position, again, where your back is really rounded when you're doing the shuttle runs. If you're getting into those shapes, not under fatigue, there's something that you got to kind of figure out about it. So if your back normally pumps out, you can say, hey, I'm going to do my primer. Make sure you guys head to Instagram to find that warm up. But you can let them know, hey, just keep an eye on me and let me know. Am I getting into some weird positions? Because your back will pump out. Doesn't really matter how flexible you are or whether you warmed up really well, but that also matters.
Ted, who asked the question about the burpee pacing, followed up. He said he's an RX male in the 50 to 54 division.
Okay. Yeah.
I still think that advice still kind of applies. Somewhere around 6 seconds a rep. Maybe could bleed up to 7 or 8, but like anything, basically you need to make sure that when you start that you've figured out like what that pace is with a couple of reps, and just ask yourself, like, as you're warming up, like, does this feel sustainable? Because you need to figure out what that is. And again, if you're slower on the front end, but you're able to stay moving the entire time, that's way better than going fast at the beginning and then getting caught hands on knees or in the chalk bucket somewhere in the middle of the workout.
Yeah, time out that 5 burpee pull-up pace and like
try to land around 30 seconds.
5, just extrapolate that across that. Maybe add some fatigue, some sadness built in.
Yep.
Drew, I think you touched on this in the tip video that we shot. That will be available as soon as I can get it edited. Kevin,
isn't that not
Kevin
edited
asks,
yet, Ted?
is the kipping pull-up worth it?
So this is all based on capacity and skill level. No standing around season means no standing around season. So we can, until we're blue in the face, tell you that you need to jump up and finish, with a quote unquote strict pull up, although it's not that strict with all that momentum. If you cannot do that and that is making you stop doing those, then you need to switch to the kip, right? Yep. I mean, that's basically where that's at. If you're warming up and you're like really struggling to eke out that final little bit, you could probably explore it right from the beginning, but jump higher would be my recommendation when you're fresh. Getting at least some of the workout done will be basically mandatory for anybody who's trying to push into that, quarterfinals type of area. It's just not going to be worth it for you to add that time under tension, and rep speed is just slow.
Yeah, I mean, depending on whether or not you're an affiliate owner, affiliate coach, what you had there. I don't know if you saw the setup that I had, but I had like 15 mats stacked underneath the pull-up bar just to try to get that to meet the standard of the workout, but also make it so it's not a 6-inch leap from my fingertips to the pull-up bar. Like, you need to adhere the standard of having the pull-up bar out of your grip, but like that doesn't mean it needs to be a foot above your hands. And again, if you're jumping higher than is necessary, you're making it harder than it has to be. Like, try to find things like we did today where we stacked some mats to make it a little bit easier, where you still hit the standard, but you're not doing extra work because you don't get any credit if the pull-up bar is 3 inches further away from your fingertips for you versus the person you're, potentially comparing against, or you kind of pace off of when you do these kind of workouts.
It's also not a general capacity thing either. Like, I have close to little general capacity when we're talking about a burpee pull-up, but if you let me jump high, I'm going to be a lot happier than I am if I have to do a fucking kipping pull-up every time. So if you're thinking about, man, this is the way to pace it, but maybe you are a little bit more of an explosive athlete, that's not the answer.
I would say too, like that, the statement, was it Ted who asked the question, the 54 to whatever, whoever asked about like what the cadence is for how many reps per minute or whatever, that is not the same. That is not going to be the same if you're doing a kipping pull-up, right? It's going to be significantly slower.
Yeah.
So just, you're going to be
trending upwards of your 9 to 10 seconds.
Yeah. Just got to know that going in, so you're not going too fast early.
Right. Thanks for the questions.
Yeah,
I think we've covered quite a bit. Make sure you, again, to head to Instagram. We have our warm-up video on Instagram. You guessed it, sweat check, activation, mobility, warm up your thruster. Then we got a little primer for you guys. No standing around season. What do you guys think for the record, the world record on this workout?
Sorry, what did we say Krenikov was at? Rep
3 of 35.
3 of 35. Fuck, there's got to be somebody who's going to...
20 of 35.
Oh, that's...
You just think about how much time that is. Like, that's like 10, pretty good amount of time.
A little over 10 a minute. So can someone get like a full 2 minutes ahead of Krenikov for 20?
Someone like Ricky just gonna run like a savage and just not stop moving.
What'd you say, 20?
I think 20 of 35.
20 out of 35?
Yeah.
I'll say we'll see someone hit like 27 out of 35. Creeping up on the 30. Too. Creeping up on 30 out of 35.
Yeah.
Man, you got to really like...
I'm going to say one shuttle run after the 35.
I think they'll finish 35 and scream for a shuttle.
Well, no. I think they'll get to leave.
Dive across the finish line.
There's just something about someone who's going to be able to be there is also going to be that same athlete where they're going to say, you got 6.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. So I think someone could potentially finish it. Again, at the beginning, I said someone was going to get 15. So now I have a grace period of 15 to 35 reps. Very specific guess. But I think I think basically the math is spot on with what he said. Can somebody be 2 minutes ahead? And one of the only things that potentially leans to yes, it was the slippage that they had in their shuttle runs. There are some people that are going to be able to run.
2 minutes is just 1 second per like rep across the entire thing.
One set of shuttle runs was 40 seconds slower than the first.
Someone could find 120
I think so on the shuttle runs.
seconds on
I don't know
on
what kind of
shuttle
sicko
runs
you
or
are
whatever.
that you love, like you just love shuttle runs, but
I can't relate, but good for you.
yeah, we've had some endurance community people here do some shuttle run tests, and it is silly to watch. It is silly to watch.
Sure is.
Totally different.
Yeah, I think we did it.
I think we did it. All right, 23.2, no standing around season. Then you get to lift heavy if maybe you had to stand around a little bit. Good luck. We'll see you next week.